introduce the lovely Carol Ellis for the Yorkshire Martin Baking Bar. Thank you, lovely.
Oh, I think I'll sit on big chair.
You do.
Yeah. I'll sit on big chair, is that alright?
Yeah.
Like Pam Ayres. If Pam Ayres were born on a council estate in Yorkshire, she'd be like this, wouldn't she? Eh? So, I first met Pullyman and his wife about 4 years ago, because I found myself an empty nester and I started writing poetry. So I tootled off to the Isle of Man Poetry Society meeting, and there they were, and I thought, well, people started reading the poetry and I thought, oh, it's a bit highbrow this. Hey, I don't know if they're going to like my stuff. And then just before they asked me to read, Pullyman started reading and I thought, oh, I'm all right. So that was how I met them, and I've actually, I call Irene my Isle of Man mum, and they are like sort of parents really to me. They're lovely people and they've been mentors as well. So I really value their friendship. And it's great to see actually that he's reached this milestone age and he's still got a really good sense of humour as Mike. And that's what I'm gonna do humour tonight. Some of you might know that I do the two-liners, my Mrs. Yorkshire's words of wit and wisdom that I post on social media every day. They're just 2 lines. So I'll throw a few of those in, but I'll also do a couple of full-length poems. But I'd like to say, Mike, I'll have to get my readers on for this. Accept the fact you're aging. You're no longer a young pup. Don't let it get you down, because you'll never get back up. It's ironic though, isn't it really? Because old age is inconvenient. The timing is quite rotten. At last you know it all, but just in time to be forgotten. To learn the rules of life can be quite hard. It's such a shame that by the time you've learned them, you're too old to play the game. And let's face it, it's not just our memories, is it, that fail? He used to call them left and right when he were just a lad. But nowadays his knees are often called just good and bad. He was suffering with aches and pains and went to see the quack. But since he's got his neck brace, you could say he's not looked back. But enough of the two-liners now. I'm going to read a poem to you that I think quite a few of you will relate to this one. I actually wrote this, I was inspired to write this by the late great Victoria Wood. You'll remember that lady, and she wrote a very funny piece of music, the Ballad of Barry and Frida. So it could be the Ballad of Pullyman and Brown Eyes, couldn't it? But I wrote one called An Early Night. Every night just after tea they settle down to watch TV. He reads the paper, watches Countdown. She goes up and turns the bed down. Once a genuine wild rover, now he struggles to bend over. An early night was what she said. He looked at her with fear and dread. But her resolve was unremitting. She cleared the pots, put down her knitting. He said, I can't 'cause I'm asthmatic. I need to watch Cash in the Attic. Don't forget I've got arthritis, not to mention prostatitis. Blimey lass, you're off your rocker. I need to take me beta blocker. Standing in her damn art vest, she knew that she were past her best. He looked upon her with despair, observed her greying pubic hair. They hadn't done it for a while and tried to do it doggy style. Aggravating his bad knees, the whole performance was a wheeze. Whichever way that she attacked it, teased and coaxed it, even smacked it, they never really had a hope, like playing snooker with a rope. She toyed with it, it didn't flinch, it didn't even move an gone without a doubt. He said, me pilot light's gone out. The inclination soon diminished. He put her 90 down and finished. The nights are dark, it's getting parky. We're much too old for this malarkey. So every night, just after tea, they settle down and watch TV. And after they're both washed and fed, they have a cup of tea instead. Well, Mike, what a year to turn 80, eh? You couldn't make this shit up, could you, eh? 6 months of restrictions is what's currently forecasted. This has to be the longest out from China's ever lasted. I met a young lass the other day, she was 4 months pregnant, and conversation went something like this. She said, I don't know who the father is, it's impolite to ask, 'cause it was 2020, I'm afraid he wore a mask. Hey, well, I'm glad we don't have to wear all those masks and do all that social distancing, because we've behaved ourselves, haven't we? None of that malarkey for us, we're very lucky. And back in March, I got a leaflet through the door from post office. It said, remember, clean your flaps and knobs to combat this disease. To keep the postman safe, you need to wash your knockers, please. But we're pretty safe, aren't we now, yes? And if you do get any symptoms, get up to the grandstand like my neighbour did. Reluctantly, he asked them, are you COVID testing here? To his dismay, they told him they were testing in the rear. Oh, I know. So when this isolation thing started, I thought, well, I've no else to do now, I might as well write a few more poems. So I wrote them on a COVID theme. And here's a reminder of what life was like for us way back in the springtime when we were all in lockdown. And this is called Isolation Revelation. This new year, she really had high hopes of things to come. But now it's May, to her dismay, she's not to wipe her bum. It's like a living nightmare and it's gone from bad to worse. She's terrified to step outside, this virus is a curse. She's standing by a window and her curtains start to twitch, 'cause number 10 went out again. She feels she ought to snitch. He wasn't one for exercise, but now he runs each day. He leaves the house, avoids his spouse, it's pretty fair to say. The one at number 42 now thinks she's Mary Berry. She's no great shakes, 'cause as she bakes, she's knocking back the sherry. Her husband's stuck inside and he can't meet his concubine. He's had a fling with some young thing from number 29. But she's got 7 kids and they've been training with Joe Wicks. He's fixed her core and pelvic floor. She's learned a few new tricks. Her kids don't wear a mask outside, she really does despair. They pick up worms and lots of germs, they just don't seem to care. They wipe them on the jump as if they think their hands are manky. And just in case, Mum cleans their face by spitting on an hanky. They all go out on Thursday night, it started off just clapping. They're out of hand, they've formed a band, now little Johnny's rapping. If they don't keep the distance, she'll just tell them to back off. She'll then attack with anti-bac if they should dare to cough. She caught her husband sneaking out, the dirty rotten swine. He's servicing that cheap young thing from number 29. She told him he could not come back. She really went ballistic. The filthy beast is now deceased. Another sad statistic. She told him that it wasn't right for them to socialise, but he went out and dared to flout and didn't sanitise. She's joined an online dating app for warmth and reassurance. When this thing ends, her new boyfriends will spend his life insurance. So I'll just finish off now with a few more words of my written wisdom. Now, these are some of the more saucy ones. Cycling down the cobbled streets, the nuns were saddle sore. They giggled and agreed they'd never come this way before. That solid gold vibrator cost a fortune, it appears. You could say she's been sitting on a fortune all these years. When asked how he viewed lesbian relationships today, in full HD was not what I expected him to say. So, what is an Australian kiss? I cannot help but wonder. I've heard it's like a French one, but instead you go down under. He'd like a larger penis, so he rung up and inquired. The lady on the phone asked which extension he required. Oh, this is a rude one. I think this is the rudest one I've ever written. A reunion for old porn stars will be held in private places. I guess it will be nice for them to come across old faces. The chicken farmer's met a lass. He says she's quite a fox. They have a lot in common 'cause she's raised a lot of cocks. A rooster mated with an owl, but something's not quite right, 'cause now the local farmer's cock is staying up all night. Now, just before I go, I've been asked by BBC Radio Leeds to record a message from the folk of the Isle of Man to our friends in West Yorkshire, because they're currently living under Tier 3 restrictions. So if I count to 3, could you all do me a favour and shout, "Hello, West Yorkshire," because I'm taping this. So after 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello, West Yorkshire. Thank you very much. Come on, I've lowered the tone now.